here we go, recording. So here we are, Saturday Night Live. What are we on? August 3rd, 2019. We're actually, we're almost a year, been married. I got my birthday tomorrow, whatever that means. And we're growing. We're feeling freaking amazing. We're up at a cottage for a few days up here, up north in Aurelia. Beautiful cottage country. Nice weather. And everything's very good. So we're supposed to have Oliver show up, but I guess something's come up, and that's okay. We'll just have some fun here and chit chat. So who's first?
Well, I was just going to say, interesting, your birthday's in August, mine's in August. So I think there's actually quite a few Leos around.
Yeah.
And yeah, so August, I mean, after this July, I don't understand that, what's it called, retrograde thing or whatever they talk about.
The Mercury in retrograde.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I can't even say the wrong word.
Yeah, we finished it, but we're in the weaning stages now.
Okay. I don't even understand. I can only talk about the feelings through it, like everyone else here had. But I just had. Oh, is that what it? Well, I've certainly had a lot of high emotions, Gino. There's a lot of high, not so much low. A lot of high. That's for sure. And I don't know. It's so great to see so many people here, Gino. There's a lot of people on here. I don't know if you've gone through and had a look. You probably have.
Yeah.
And a lot of the regulars, and we've got some party house people here, like Johnny's here, and Scotty. Scotty, you look really cool. I think you've actually had a shave, haven't you?
I did. Yeah, this is called monk mode. When I
yeah.
So I heard that on a juicing radio. They used to have this juicing radio podcast, and one of the women there was like, and I really need to get into juice fasting. We go into what's called monk mode, where we just completely focus and there's nothing else. And so, I don't know. It's always kind of a mental sign for me to like, hey, you're fasting today, buddy.
Put your head down and there you go.
That's right.
It's so interesting you say that, Scott, because there's a couple of things I said to myself last year. One thing was I don't want to be an energy healer. Soul, don't make me an energy healer, right? Because I don't want to do any healing. I just want to be with you, right? And the other one was I do not want to go to the Himalayas. I don't want to go to the Himalayas, right? I don't want to do that. I'm happy to stay here in Brisbane and everything. So what's happened? Started energy healing. So it's through energy, right? And last week, the big call about going to the Himalayas. And I'm thinking, no, I'm not going. So the pull, the call and everything's there. I just think this journey that pulls you in so deep, it's absolutely incredible. You don't know where you're going. You can't plan for it. You can't set your goals for it. You just got to take one day at a time and just be, free from your attachments and releasing continually and just loving the journey in the unknown place. Sometimes it gets comfortable in the unknown place, but I tell you what, all of a sudden the soul and the creator slips you out of the uncomfortable zone and gets you doing things that you think, I wouldn't be doing that. Like, who would be praying over the internet, over a Facebook group? I mean, honestly, like, why would you be doing that? And why would we be gathering here and talking about, cleaning out your body so we can all be better humans? Who would know that fasting would, I don't like the word fasting anymore, but long digestive rest would actually, get you into a place where you can actually be you and be the best human person that you can be. And I never knew there was people out there like me that just really love being in love. Just love the idea of just being in love and being in that love field. I didn't know. I thought it was just maybe a few of us in my physical realm, because everybody was in misery, pain and suffering, like they're just always there. Like you think, is that the normal way to live? Like, this doesn't seem normal to me. Like we're meant to be in joy, happiness and just living this way and just on fire, completely on fire, that's how I feel. But, you know, when the swirling happens in his tummy, you just can't stop it. You can't stop it. It never, ever, you never sit still. You just keep growing and growing and you become into being really who you are, entwined with the divine. So you go back to your original personality, I find, and which is joy, happiness and bliss. So remember how you were as a 1 or 2 year old or something, you know, and you're pretty much that, and then you just got the divine living in you. But however, I love the mind. I love the mind, because when you utilize the mind for its real purpose and it's no longer in suffering, then you got it. You don't need anything else. You don't need anything else. It's just the way it is. So that's how I'm feeling today.
Hey, Randy, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
As you go on this process, you know, and you're getting more in touch with your soul, do you find that it shows you things about the life that you lived during this time that have just been happy and blissful, so that you can find that anchor to those points?
Yeah, you nailed it on the head. Because, you know, when I was talking about those thoughts, you know, when you do the mirror of truth last week, and then when you get into thoughts about when you're, you know, child, and as soon as you release that thought away, behind that thought is God or the divine or the energy field. And then what that does, it actually changes the events and how you experience the events. Because God has always been there. So it actually changes and it heightens the joy. So you are right. So it heightens the joy in the experience or finding the beauty in that moment. Like you might have thought that, you know, for example, you're getting a good old whack from your parents, which you deserve because you're, you know, naughty. But actually in that beauty of it, the parents were actually teaching you discipline, that you had the opportunity to be disciplined and had the opportunity to be a human being that's of correct conduct and doing the right thing. So, yeah, you see beauty in it, and then everything just escalates into complete happiness. Like even your physical pain, if people going through physical pain, you know, I remember in my 108, like every time I had a physical pain, I always thought it was an opportunity to be released, an opportunity to get well, because our body's already whole and healed. And then see, even those things, when I had dizziness last year, like, you know, it's blessing, an absolute freaking blessing. Like you go, yeah, just everything's got, that's so profound what you said, very, very profound, because when you see God being forever, like past, present and future, and you see that face of God behind those thoughts and the space increases, any event or anything you experience, it's not suffering, it's just an experience to be with him. That's all it is. It's all it is.
What's crazy, Ranjit, when you're talking about pain and stuff like that. So this week, I mean, everybody knows I've been dealing with foot pain for a long time, but I went out barefoot onto my deck and my heart was just so happy. I was like, man, it just feels so good to walk on my feet. And I'm not going to lie, there was still some pain there. But it was like my soul was just like, see, this is what you need to be doing, walking, using your body. And I was just like, holy crap, man. I mean, even before the soul is fully healed my feet, it's showing me comfort and joy in my current state, which is, I don't know, that's amazing to me.
Yeah.
Oh, you just broke through, because that's the gap that everyone is stuck in. And the way that you expressed it, Scott, I could never explain it that way. It's the gap, because when I even talk to anybody, they go, how do you get into the observed state? How do you get into the observed state? They just can't find that way, that gap to stay in there. And that is actually I think that's where the stickiness is, because it's so caught in the mind of fear. And say if you're in that pain, your old self would have been going on, oh man, I'm not going to, this fasting, could be anything, this fasting doesn't work, it gives me more pain, does this and that, this suffering in the physical body. But when you find that opportunity where you just said, oh man, wow, so grateful for my feet that I can walk, oh my God, I can feel the grass and the soil under my, so you're actually focusing on the good stuff rather than the pain. So you've just got yourself off the nail, off the board. So you've got yourself out of that place. So you're just gonna flourish, because there's no other way to go but go. You know, you just keep going.
Yeah, I blame Gino.
Yeah, me too.
I think the true thing is a master fast really is the most addictive thing anybody could do.
We blame you, Gino, now for our whole transformation.
I'm your
So these are,
torment.
The new drug.
That's right.
that's right, I'm always drunk.
The funny thing is, though, is, people ask about how to get into the moment. And, when you're first started out, and especially when you're just really attached to your mind and your ego, it's like the driving force in your life. And these are some of the signs. If you want to know if you're living an ego-driven life, at the end of the day, you don't feel at peace with yourself. You feel like shit. You have a ton of stress. You don't feel a deep fulfillment. And a lot of times you have other negative symptoms like depression and anxiety, fear, these types of things pulsing through you. But if you find yourself in that really low state and you're like, God, my mind just interrupts me every given moment, I've found dancing and listening to music or doing some kind of physical exercise, it could even be running, run, listen to music, distract that mind. Let your feelings come from your body a little bit, because that's what you really are looking for, is that the attachment to your body instead of your mind. And I swear, if you just do that a little bit, you will find the path yourself. You'll find your own path and be able to anchor to it.
Yeah, it's I like to say is, we love to eat. Who doesn't? But once you've tasted that state, in that fasting state, master fasting state, like we've wrote out the definition, so people have a distinction of what's out there compared to what we're doing, because there's no comparison. It's just out there, it's just a bunch of confusion and theories and opinions. What master fasting is jumping into a whole different realm, and connecting to all the things that we wrote down. Now I can't remember it off by heart what I wrote, but that was just a download that had to come, so I wrote it down. Sometimes these downloads come through and I don't write them down and they're gone. Sometimes they come back because they need to be written. So I wrote it down, and there's the definitions of fasting out there are just so many. It's we got to create our own definitions, because that's what legalese does, right? They create their own definitions for same words. So we have to have a clear understanding of what master fasting is, and that's what we've done. And it's really about living in the state of peace, balance, correct conduct, and everything that comes with that. It's just a beautiful place to be. When you've experienced these long digestive vacations, at least getting into that absolute minimum 30, 40 days. But really, when you start getting into the 50 and 60s, then you start really having an understanding of what's going on, and tasting that nectar of God, as we like to say. In the dries, it's where it all happens, because as we know, since we're in that slow motion realm, we start seeing the effects after the dries. Always after the dries, things start being manifested after the dries, because it all happens in the dries. It's just it took me a while to really see that and understand that, through the downloads and through more and more dry fasts in particular, to understand that it's all happening here in the dries. And then the materialist, the actual materialism stuff starts forming, and we start seeing it happening as we start washing out all those obstructions that the fast has loosened up to remove. And when you've been at this for at least a couple of years and you start expanding on those dry fasts, you'll start seeing a whole horizon of things opening up to you. And you'll start seeing more and more of those information downloads coming through. And it's just a blessing to be in those states, because when we look out there and then we compare to the downloads that we're getting, we're going, none of that stuff makes sense. These guys are all full of shit. All right? And you do it over and over and over, and it keeps getting clearer and clearer, and you start seeing the shit for what it really is. It's just shit. It's just caca out there. And yeah, there's some, yeah, there's a lot of beautiful stuff out there, but you have to decipher, and you get that, you get the clarity through the fast of what, you know, the real stuff. Yeah, and that's how it happens. We start expanding our awareness, and our belief system starts changing, and we start tapping into those limitless realms more and more and more. And this is the beauty, and this is how Ranjit's expressing herself, because she can't contain it. Because we've all, the ones who've done all these long digestive vacations have been in those places. And that's why, you know, as you mentioned, Scott, it's addictive. It's freaking addictive to be in these states. We end up falling. We go back to those other states to just reinforce ourselves. Is this for real? Can we really be in these states? And then we go back. Yeah, it's real. And then we fall off. And okay, man, okay, let me stay in this state of obstruction for a little bit, and then really understand, like, man, oh man, this is too good to be true. And then we go back, and right, and so on and so forth. But as time goes on, you know, we start to get more clarity, and hopefully we stick more and more into the blissful states, you know, and the eating's always going to be there for most of us. No big deal, you know.
I mean, the more we fall, really, I mean, the more we learn. The more we fall, the more we learn. So don't be scared of falling. I mean, my goodness, you gotta be an expert. Like with all these falls, it's because you have to learn more. Maybe somebody who doesn't fall as much doesn't need to learn as much. But you know, I believe the learning is way more when we're eating and fasting.
Oh, yeah,
like
both.
Let's say you do, like when I used to do 1 day a week, that was really tough lessons. That it was really tough. And at the end, I was like, no, this is not fun. I mean, I don't need to do that. I'm torturing my body every time I eat. You know, but at the same time, I feel like it's also very hard to tell yourself, I don't want to eat, because I don't know if we're ready for that. You know?
It's not a place I would suggest people say, I'm never going to eat again. I would never put that suggestion.
Think,
I would have
totally. You're right.
A vision of, that's where I would like to experience, to be in that state. But to say right now I'm never going to eat again, that's too much pressure and emotion.
So much fear into us, and you don't want to be doing things from a place of fear. You want to do it from a place of love. And maybe we're scaring ourselves a little bit by saying, I don't want to eat again. Maybe, I don't know. It's really hard, but at the same time, it's much like, you know, it's the way to go. it's fun.
I think Gina hit it on the head. It's because people ask me that question all the time. Oh, you're not going to eat food again, and you're ever going to eat? They just can't understand. Okay, and I appreciate that. But I've always said, look, I've never actually talked about giving up food, right? I've never actually said that. I actually always just said, all I want to do is be with the soul and the awareness and have my human experience, whatever that happens to be. And what have I experienced through the training ground in the first 108 was that, that when my GI tract was clean and when I went into the dries was the moments that I actually had the full expression at that time of being with divine, the God, the energy field. And it actually teaches you in a very, very gentle way at the time that you're actually ready to teach it. But what happens, Gina, with the dries is that, and I want to let people know this, because when you start experiencing your end of month dries, the limitless place says, I've got, like to me, it says, I've got you. So it would download the whole lot in one moment to you, but you can't take it all, right? You can't express it. You don't understand what's going on. The process is very, very difficult for the mind because the mind's still full of caca. And so in that moment, it pulls you into, when you experience those etheric states, is that it pulls you in to do more drives. And this is the diligence in order to follow the protocols, because the protocols keep you safe. It keeps the body safe in its adaptation. If you can't do 3-day dries, don't do the 48 hours, or do something that you can do. If you pull to go longer, what happens? That kaka stuff in your body gets all swirled up, and you don't feel like drinking the juice. You don't feel like having the kidney tea. You don't feel like doing the protocols, because your soul is pulling you even further, but you've got to be very discerned about what's going on, because sometimes you might think, oh, it's my body doing this, but your body's not doing that. Your body is still full of obstructions. So the protocols in the matter world keeps you safe. For me, that's how I look at it. It keeps you safe. And even now, I still follow the protocols. Because don't you think that I would love to go do a 7-day drive? Man, would I want to do that and go jump in cold water? I'm craving for that. And I know it's going to happen, at the end of this. Yeah. So, but what I'm doing, I'm still keeping myself, because I know I'm still obstructed. I feel it. I feel the more pulling that comes out. It happens. But the soul now, what it's doing is that I'm asking them ask the questions. So it guides you into that etheric state. Like, how do you handle that etheric state? The time you go into your second long round, you're in a different place to your first round. But the first round is foundation to me. Like, it really is. Like, doing your mini ones or levels, keep doing that until you get to a place where you feel comfortable doing a long one, because you'll feel more comfortable with it. You'll feel more comfortable with the protocols. You'll understand it better. And then just use that as your training ground. Because like, Mara, what you said at the beginning was that you just open the door. And I had just still opened the door. So there's, that's how I feel with the dries. They're very, they pull you in, Gino, they pull you into that euphoric state, and you've got to stick to the protocols, be really diligent and discern.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been eating for all these years. There's no rushing in the metamorphosis process. It's not going to happen in a rush state. So we be prudent and we be wise, and we use the structure to help us along the way, because to master anything, it's not a destination point. It's the journey of mastering, and it goes on and on and on. It's never ending. It's the journey of mastering. And that's why the more we go on into these realms, we see that we know nothing. It's just, it's limitless. It's like we know screw all. So we use the experiences to teach us slowly, and that's the best way I've found that we can learn. Like, I've done so much reading about fasting and nutrition and health and so on and so forth. And all those decades of reading don't even have a little scratch to the experience that taught me. The downloads. Just you get a couple of downloads and you're going, whoa, like we were talking earlier. My goodness gracious, what a blessing to be able to access this information. And then it just goes on like that as we go on over through the years. And we, keep mastering the journey through, 1 year after another, after another, after another. Since we started sharing this MFS information, I've always said this is a lifestyle. And 2 years later, some people are starting to get it. And in those 2 years, we've seen a whole lot of people that just thought it was some kind of an event that you put yourself through. And that's never anything we've talked about. It's always been a lifestyle, and that's what we do with this. We have a lifestyle that we've chosen, and we continue to go through the experiences to teach us, because the teacher is soul. It's just really accessing and remembering, because where we come from, we are all part of the all knowledge one creations, and it's within us, all that information. So it's not really learning it, it's just remembering where we came from the light, and from wherever you want to call it, from source. It's that information is available to each and every one of us. Nobody's higher than anybody else. There's, you know what I mean? There's different levels of realms, and it's infinite. But I'm saying, as soul to soul to soul, we're all built the same in that sense from creation. And it's just awesome when you can access that information. And the one thing I see people get confused with is, oh, I'm listening to the body. The body's going to lie to you when it's obstructed over and over and over. That's what I found. It's all full of shit, and it's going to give you shit. So, you know, I had to break my fast. My body said I had to break my, okay, sure. I've been through those states, right? So that's why I can only speak through the experience, through my experiences. And I found once you go deeper and start cleansing and start cleansing and cleansing, you see the clarity of all that was all nonsense. It was all nonsense. The body wasn't speaking to you. The shit was speaking to you. Parasites, whatever you want to call them, it doesn't matter. And, you know, yeah, once you've gone through and cleansed that GI tract, the clarity comes through, and that's the beauty. And in the dry fasting states, those are the limitless realms. That's where it's all about. Take your time, be prudent, follow the protocols is all we can say, because there's no rushing in healing. There's no rushing in completely metamorphosizing. There's no rushing in transforming. You know, everything's possible. You can instantaneously completely transform. I believe it all. But experience shows that most of us are going to have to do the work. We're going to have to put in the time, day after day after day, and the efforts.
It's just like anything else in life. This is not just about fasting. This is, you know, just like eating clean. You know, you're going to have to practice. You're going to have to work.
Yeah, it's not going to fall from the sky. And
you want to achieve any dream, you'll have to work at it. I mean, come on, let's not lie to each other. It's not going to be a piece of cake.
It would be
but
nice.
At the same time, it is so freaking easy compared to where we were. You know, like it's it's challenging, but at the same time, it's not that bad. Especially, it's not like we're studying or something. We're working on our bodies. Like we're getting the reward every day. We're rewarded, and so that will help us stay. You know, keep going. It's not like we're studying for something and at the end there's an exam. Every single day we're being rewarded. And that's very motivational for us to choose that path. And one thing I felt, you know, it's very hard for me to define what my dream is when it comes to fasting and clean eating, and maybe just fasting. I'm not sure, but maybe some people are like this as well. It's hard to define, okay, what exactly, how do I see myself living? If one day a week was more than enough for me, so what am I doing? Like what's the best thing? Is it liquidarian? Is that the next level? So I have been very confused for a long time, you know. And I sometimes say to myself, okay, so it's gonna be liquidarian, but then that brings so much fear, and so I eat a lot of whatever I love, and then I give, you know, so I can start a fast, but then something will make me, you know, some small thing, you know, will make me fall back into eating, and then I find myself eating again and saying, okay, I'm going to start again soon. And I think that's not the best way to do things. it's best to be gentle with ourselves. It's okay to eat, and it's okay to fall off. Of course, we always feel better fasting than eating. There's no question about it. But this week that my family is over, I feel like there's all the gatherings are around food. All the gatherings are around food. And my dad, they had like four. He came from the airport to the Whole Food. What's it called? Costco, right?
Straight to shopping.
Straight to like you buy the big
4 big carts.
Yeah, big carts.
Full.
Yeah, my sister took a video of them. four carts. They were walking and they're full of food. That's normal. And then it took us about 1 hour to organize the food into the fridge and into the cupboards. Like seriously, and a couple of us, my sisters. And then my dad starts cooking. And before the cooking, there's a few snacks here and there, and then he prepares the food. And so I was fasting. That was last Sunday, and then lots of fruits. So I got tempted. I was like, okay, now I finished my juice. I might as well join them and eat fruits, And then the fruits became vegetables, and then the vegetables became his food. Like I found myself eating his food, and feeling very tired and wanting to eat more. It's addictive, right? So, and then after that Monday, I said, okay, let's get back. But then I found myself eating more like salads. And I felt like, okay, let's eat lighter food today. It was hard. It was really hard to start again. And then I find, I think the best thing today, I was talking to Gino in the car as we were coming here. I think the best thing would be, for me at least, he's like, okay, you always change your mind. There's no, there's no one way. So, it doesn't matter. But, but I said, I have to adjust. I have to adjust with my experiences.
It's continual adjustments.
This is growth, right? It's important for me to say, okay, this did not work. So let's try something else, And now what I feel the best thing would be to eat for socially. Okay, you want once in a while, not even once a week, once in a while. Okay, maybe once a week if you have the family over for the summer, but not, I would say once a week maximum for me, and not every week. Not every week, just for social reasons. I can make a salad and bring it as well, or whatever. So it's a little bit cleaner, and I'm serving them as well, helping them. They don't have to worry about me eating vegan food or whatever. And, so, so I think it would be best for us to eat socially, at least for me, to eat socially once in a while. Not all the time.
I have a question for you. Just listening to you talk, I just, it was kind of interesting to me. Before you came to this realization, it's almost like you had certain rules or conditions for yourself, right? Like, hey, I've got to live this liquidarian lifestyle, or in order to be complete, I'm just going to eat once a day. But, what I kind of heard you say at the end was, I'm just going to allow myself the freedom to do whatever the hell it is that I feel like, and let my soul kind of find the place that's right for me. I don't know, that second part sounded way more powerful than like trying to create rules in your mind to make it work.
Yeah.
Hey, Scotty, I want to add to that. I fully 100% agree. Just listening to you, Rana, I was like thinking, the way that I look at celebrations, if you want to eat on celebration occasions, it's actually a field of love. So the whole food, whatever you're drinking, eating, music, people, the love field is increased. So the strength has increased. So even when you consume the food, it's going to be consumed in a different way, in a different light. Yeah. So it should be like what just Scotty said there about the light allowing. So when you allow it to come into your body and it's in a form of love from the soul expression, it's going to be digested in a completely different way. Mm-hmm. But if people in their mind like go into, oh my God, I ate food, oh my God, I shouldn't eat, and you haven't actually experienced the joy of the love field that the soul and that energy space is actually created for you. Because when you go into, you're resisting the other way. So it's the resistance of not you, but just generally most people. They'll resist the opportunity for the joy, and like what Scott said, the allowing, the freedom. Don't just allow whatever to be, whatever to be. The good thing about you, Rana, is at least you've had all these past experiences. You know how you're going to feel afterwards. You have that knowledge and experience in your body, and you know that, okay, when I'm looking forward to my next fast. You focus on the stuff that's really joyful rather than, which you don't do. I know you don't beat up on yourself, but other people may beat up on themselves. And you just got to, you get up the next day, brand new day, in the sunlight, brand new day when you put your feet on the ground, and you just keep moving forward. And if you had a joyful celebration with food and everything like that, you've got to know what you're doing, because you're not going to go eat a whole lot of crappy food, because if you've been fasting, you've got to know. And this is where MFS teaches you the fasting and eating, like you said.
Yeah.
The long digestive vacation, you got to be really careful, really careful. And that's, some people put themselves in not good places. So that's where you have to use the prudence. And that's why we have all the information we do, because I've never seen food kill it. Fasting kill anybody. I see eating kill people all the time. And especially when you start clearing that GI tract, you got to be careful what you put in there after a long time. Do it slowly and prudently. Allowing the soul, that's the key. We can, use a guideline, a structure of where we want to go, but putting
too much structure,
too many
rules.
structures of area, nobody's going to stick to it. So we have this outline structure, and there's limitless ways on how you can make it work for yourself, and how many days, and so on and so forth. Long digestive vacations thrown in the middle of that, and all that. So, and it's you have to have that feel. It's an art. It's an art making it so you can make it work for you. And look at if you listen to the calls, everybody's doing something a little bit differently, right? To make it work for themselves. Some people eating more days a week, less days a week, whatever. Intermittent, hybrid. There's so much stuff you can do, and that's the beauty.
Yeah, the first meal is usually, I think it's very important. You have to watch what you're doing. But what I find is when one meal for me is fine, but then when I, socially, but then after that, like let's say a few hours after that, I've become very tired. Like I have to go to bed almost. Like I cannot feel my eyes. It depends, of course, what I eat. Fruits are usually much the easiest, of course, and that's what you want to break your fast with. It's the second meal usually, like you will be pulled, you will feel okay, you will feel tired, you will feel depressed. I don't care what you eat, you're gonna feel more tired and more depressed. The heavier you eat, of course, the more tired and the more depressed you will be. So you want to have, I will have rules for myself. It's not like I'm not gonna have rules. I'm gonna have rules because I know me. I can fall and I get depressed and then start eating and then just keep eating the days after that. And that's just wrong. I think the best thing is to one meal. If I want to eat after that, I will not eat. Like at least I will make the rule not to eat, to wait for another occasion, because it pulls me down. It really does.
Yeah, Sky. This is because it's a lifestyle. We're going to eat. We're going to fast. We're going to eat. We're going to fast. We're going to eat. We're going to fast. We're going to eat over and over and over and over again. And that's just the way it is. And when the time comes, we're going to know we're ready. Okay, I'm going to go for a long digestive vacation now, and I'm going to eat again when I come off of it. And that's the key, right? We do it over and over and over, and we continue. I've been doing this 3 decades, and I continue to fast. And as I've said many times, that's why I'm still here. I'm still alive, because I've made it a lifestyle. I would not be here if I didn't have a fasting lifestyle. I know 100% I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, he would fast better than me, more than me. Like if he falls, it's not like me. I would fall more emotionally, involved. So, and his food choices are always better than mine. But what I want to say also is that, the first meal of eating occasionally is just for the experience. It's not because we're hungry, but because you want to taste it, and do that, and that's it. Enjoy, love it, and also with your family, whatever. But then, you know what? When you feel like you have to eat again, or you really want to eat again, no, this is a wrong message. Do not listen to that one, because you don't want to be dependent on food. You want to be independent of food. And we all know that we don't need food. We are without food for a long time. How come we need food after the first meal? I just ate a meal, I'm fine. So actually, Oliver, one time I think I told him, it's best to think about it like we're always fasting. Sometimes we're eating for the experience. And he once sent me a statement saying, he saw his friend was wearing a T-shirt saying "always on," on the T-shirt. He's like, that reminded me of you. Always on, always fasting. Sometimes we're eating, and I think that's just. I think that's the way it is. Really, that's the best way to think about it. We want to always be fasting. Sometimes eating for experience, not for hunger. We're not hungry. We don't want to be slaves to food. I can't stand it when I'm a slave to food. When I feel like I really need to eat. Open the door. There's nobody outside.
Very hot in here. The computer's heating
Keep
up.
it open. Yeah. So for the experience, enjoy it, love it. It's best if you can prepare some food. Of course, fruits are always best. If you're gonna eat a salad, at least eat fruits before. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. We're all in a experimental place.
Well,
I think like with this eating once in a while is kind of experimental. I would say, like eating one meal once in a while. I don't think it harms me. Eating a meal, I definitely best to eat it lighter, not heavy. But it's the second and third and fourth meals that would harm me, I feel. The first meal is usually I can handle it. I might feel really tired after, but I can handle it. So just be careful. You are, if you don't follow the protocol, you are on your own. So be careful.
Yeah, the protocol is very safe. Um, it's it's always a challenge when you get into the long digestive vacations. For people who've not gone to those places and don't know what to expect, and they're not prepared because they're not doing their homework, they're not reading, they're not listening to interviews, they're not listening to the calls, they're not doing enough reading on the Facebook, because there's tons of information. So it's a MFS wiki, the Facebook group. There's tons of info in there. Most of all questions have been asked. There's very few questions I get now that have not been asked. It's just the same things over and over and over again. So if you put the time and energy towards studying and because that's what needs to be done, just like anything else you want to try and master, you're going to have a much better perspective of what may transpire as you go through the experiences. And once you go through the experiences, the knowing comes through very clear. Before that, you have no clue, really. You have a slight understanding of what might happen. But once you've gone through it, then the clarity comes through. And that's the beauty. And then you work from there over and over and over again, because it's a lifestyle. And that's how we choose to live. Because we've been eating for decades. How much more eating do we need to experience? Occasionally is fine, a few times a week. Like we say, if you go more than 5 times a week of eating, it's too much. For 5 days a week, it's already going to be too much for some people.
1 day a week is too much already. If you get used to it, once you get used to it, trust me, after like 3 months, 1 day a week, you're going to say there's something wrong. You're going to say there's something wrong. And I'm sure if you do 5 days a week, you already know there's something wrong.
But it takes time for the transition. And not everybody's going to be able to just jump to 1 day a week either. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I haven't seen it.
You know, Gino, when you're talking about the transition, you know, that's one thing I really liked about Professor Spira.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he really latched onto the part of Eret's teaching that said you need a transitional period in order to ditch your old lifestyle and go on. And you know, one of the things that I think sometimes
The transitional period is emotional.
right.
It's not physical. The physical, we got it down pat. We know how to clean the body very quickly now. It's the emotional, the belief system. That's where the transition takes time, right?
Right.
We're talking about the food transition. No, we're not talking about that.
No, right. No, I understand. I think that's what the additional dimension that Master Fast brings, right? Is you realize that we're not really transitioning to a different style of food. We're actually transitioning to a higher state. We're expanding. And so it takes a little while to shed some of that form while you go into these higher energy levels. But, you know, one of the things I wanted to say just in general, you know, I used to get so frustrated with myself when I would break my fast and just return instantly to my previous eating style. And, you know, I know last week I shared some intense things about the family reunion that I went to, but that last week I didn't fast a single day.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just because I was in such emotional upheaval. Well, in the past, I would have been dealing with the emotional upheaval from past wounds, plus been saying, what the hell is wrong with you, dude? You got to get back on this fast and be perfect. But really, in that moment, I really feel like in an eating state, and I know this is going to sound weird, I was in my perfect state because that was the state I needed to be in to resolve that situation. And this week, that last weekend, I was just like, you know what, Scott? We already know where eating's going to take you. I agree. You had a really emotional week last week, but let's get into the dry for the new moon. No matter what, we've just got to get into the dry for the new moon. And just like you guys are talking about, you're going to make this, you know, in quantum mechanics, we talk about potential wells, you know, which is the same thing as potential energy, right? And I really feel like that's what the dry fasting is doing. And I just wanted to talk about this just for a second from my energy perspective. This is just my personal philosophy. If it doesn't serve you, then you can just take it as mumbo jumbo or whatever. But, you know, with this massive potential energy, it's simple to move high energy particles like light, to rearrange photons, to rearrange these energy points inside of our being, right? But then it takes energy to concentrate this energy into something like a thought or a revelation. And then it even takes more energy to take that thought and say, now I'm going to act on it. I'm going to make it a pattern in my life, and I'm going to make a habit. I mean, do you understand what most people don't understand what you really just did? You went out to the infinite, out to the energy level where everything is simple because there's no mass. Everything just moves around and it seems chaotic, but it's not. When you put your body into that energy field, it literally arranges itself around you and whatever current state you're in. And then as these higher thoughts and higher levels begin to condense down through correct conduct, through correct living, it comes into your body through, and then it comes out and around, and it just keeps circling like this. And your energy field will get so big it does something that only the sun really can do. And if you think about it, there's a fission and a fusion process at the nuclear level, and it takes a hella amount of energy to do that. And all you're talking about is making one atom into a different type of atom. But somehow with our bodies and with our minds and the energy fields we can tap into, we can literally take these light, put it into a structure of light that then the energy flows through and then condenses and makes a reality based on our intention. And I mean, some of this I've gotten from Abraham Hicks, listening to her and her teachings. Some of it I've gotten just recently from like listening to people like Dr. Sue Morter who do energy healing, and Krishnamurti and some of these other people. But and really, when you look into it, like really look into the to biblical things, I mean, why did man fall? Because they ate something they weren't supposed to. I think that's serious, you know. We ate something we weren't supposed to do, according to that. You know, according to that, I know there's many other things out there, but anyways, I just wanted to kind of share one quick thing really quick, if it's okay with everybody, and in addition. And I call this the allegory of 8, okay? So when we're little, we learned about numbers, right? And when we first go into school, I think, especially in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, at least for me, this is when my mind, I was like, holy crap, there's a whole new universe right inside of here. And I just love to stuff tremendous amounts of information into my head. It was almost like another addiction for me, like food. I was like, let me read books, let me read YouTube, let me just soak in everything, right? And so like when we're little, we see this little number called 8. And inside of our spirit, they're like saying to us, well, we need to take this somehow and make it something into eternal, right? And Steve, I know you may get this a lot quicker than some people just because of what you do for work. So then, you know, a little later on in school, we learn about, you know, this thing actually has an x-axis through here and a y-axis through here. And so, oh man, we think this is so cool, right? Let's see if I can do something with my mind to make this infinite, right? So then we begin to flip it. Oh, look, you got 8 again. Flip it here. Oh, you got 8 again. This happens probably when you're 10 and your logical centers become overwhelmed. Your mind just says, holy shit, I can't do anything to this 8 to make it eternal. So by the time you're 20 or something like this, this is just about how it worked for me. You take this card and you're like, screw this. There is no 8. There is no eternity. I'm going to live in my mind. You tuck that aside, right? And then what you don't realize is for the next 10 years, you see the number 8 in so many different positions. It's like taunting you for some reason. It's like it always comes back in your life. You look at the address, it's 8. You look at your paycheck, there's 8s. You know, everything is 8, right? So finally you come back as an adult sometime in your 30s or 40s. You're like, okay, damn it. Let me write this 8 again. And you're like, hold on, I'm just doing this real quick. And you're like, okay, look, mind. You've already told me if I flip it like this, I'm going to get an 8. If I flip it like that, I'm going to get 8. Flip it like this, I get an 8. Doesn't matter, always 8. So then you're like, maybe there's some information outside of myself that can help me. And for the first time, you just begin to quiet down. And out of the blue, you think, oh, what if I just put a dot right here? And you recognize now that you can flip the 8 like this. And this came for your soul. And for the first time, the 8 is no longer an 8. It's infinity. And you've just turned it into something eternal. But it didn't come from the mind. And now you spend the next 10 or 20 years figuring out where the hell they came from to try to figure out how you can do that in your real life. But literally, you guys, this is what it's about. It's literally about letting go of this physical form and tapping into that deeper energy level. And pretty soon, your 8, as Ranjit likes to say, will be the infinite loop.
Yep.
Sorry, I don't know. That was just something that came to my mind the other day as I was in my dry fast and,
Yep.
you know, thinking about this, and I just wanted to share.
Yeah, the circles of 8, you know, the flow. It's continual. It's both ways. The giving and allows you to receive, and it goes on. You know, there's a spiral in that, and the spiral is doing the 8s with other spirals. But you know, as you start going to the center, the more closer you go to the center, the stronger and stronger the fields get. And you know, I look at the creation, divine, whatever we want to call it, it's in the center, and that center is not a destination point. You can you can travel into it infinite, right? And it keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and it keeps expanding at the same time because it's going all directions. And then we come from that center, and we can go back into the center to access all that information and all that beautiful divinity as we go within, because I did many years of searching out there, and it got me nowhere fast. It just brought more and more and more confusion. As soon as that little revelation started coming through about going within and letting go and connecting with soul through the fasting, that's when everything started changing. And I started seeing things in a whole different way. And the plasma science that I was studying for those several years, that brought a whole new light in the way I started looking at things as well. And anybody who wants to look into the Kesh Spaceship Institute, you're gonna get a whole different way of looking at things, and it's gonna challenge your belief system, which it does for many when you start looking at that kind of information. But this is what it's all about. MFS, when it started sharing information out there, it brought information that was absurd to so many people out there, totally absurd. And, coming from somebody that has no papers, no PhDs, no diplomas, none of that stuff. And it made it even more absurd. Who the hell is this freaking lunatic? And meanwhile, we got a few people that the light turned on for them, and they jumped in, and everything transformed completely, turned inside out in their lives, and their whole belief system changed, and it just carried on. And here we are, over 4 years later, of how many lives have been completely transformed from some information that just came through doing a lot of fasts over and over and over again. That's all it is. None of us are better than anybody else. This information is available to all of us. Just as it came through me, it'll come through you. You just continue and be very stubborn like I was, and do it over and over and over and over and over again. And don't let anybody tell you anything different. You just keep doing it, because you're going to come to a point where the light will switch on, and you're going to know that you got to keep doing this because it's addictive. It's freaking addictive, because you feel freaking amazing, and everybody else is telling you completely opposite. Oh, you're this and that. You look horrible. You're gonna die. You can't go without water, and all this kind of nonsense. And then you're just tapping into soul and saying, no freaking way what they're saying makes any sense. I'm gonna keep going. And here we are, right? And we keep going. So that's
I love what, I was going to say, I love what Scott said, because for me, Gino, and everyone here, I haven't gone out to learn any information. So I've done, I've gone out to completely de-obstruct information, let go, live the less is more lifestyle. Even before I think I even came to MFS, I did 3 years of letting go. It brought me here. Thank you for having this space for us. Thank you. And I just love listening to Scott, because when you're feeling these energy fields and these photons, I know I feel the light energy. I can't go out in the sun as much. I can go out into the stars and the moon more so than the sun, because what I find is when I go into the forest for my walk and it's nice and shady, I get more photons from the plants for some reason. That because that breathes your skin, because how we do the less breathing, because when you get into these states, like what you were saying, Scott, because your body becomes like photons or some sort of energy that your skin breathes, and it reminds me of a reptile, because the skin breathes and it sucks in what your body needs, and that comes into trust and surrender. But your body, you have to adapt to that energy field, and then you have to get to that knowingness of that energy loop that you talk about, Scott. But it's just everything. It's absolutely everything. It's the thoughts that you release out that don't serve you anymore, that get flipped into a higher energy field, and then it comes back into love, and you're throwing out this love energy field, And it just keeps happening and happening, and that spiraling thing. Thanks for telling me about that, Gino, because I forever feel the spiral in my gut. It's just non-stop. It's like non-stop. And then you go into it, right? Because the energy is feeding. You go into it. That's what feeds you.
Mm-hmm.
That is what the thing that, like, you don't need to do any, you know, I don't want to say this, like when your body becomes a meditation, right? You become the prayer. Right, so the body, I don't think you need to sit for hours and hours for meditation, Gino. I can't feel that. I just sort of think like everything I do is a form of meditation. When I speak is a form of meditation. It's loving on someone that needs to hear now, like what Scott just said and you just said. It's everything, like your whole hands, that feel, your hands burn up. I never understood it when it first happened at the end of the 108, Scott. I know you've done a long fast because you've done 134, haven't you? You've been where I've been in some ways, and Gina and Rana, and there's people that have been here. So you can appreciate like this force field that's around you. Like now I walk around, this is how the negative energy forces don't penetrate in anymore, because that attraction thing, you attract who you are, that you throw out in the giving and the receiving. I don't get much negative energy stuff coming to me. And if anywhere I go, and if people are going to say, oh, you're not eating this, I don't get it much now, Gino. Like if I go to like it just doesn't happen as much.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going, oh my God, what's happening to me? You like you say, it's a metamorphosis, right? And then some people fall off. Like I had friends who were really nasty to me last year, Gino, right? And they're calling me back. They want to what's changed about you, Ranji? You know, I'm thinking, yeah, I know I've changed, but I can't see it as much as other people can see it.
Right.
But I feel it, yeah. So they're attracted back because there's something, they want the love. That's what it all comes down to. They want to be embraced. Yeah. And that's the other thing, Gina. I've got one question, and is that I feel people's hurt too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, not my hurt, but I feel other people's hurt so much that the compassion is so deep. And I'm trying to figure this out in the energy field. Like I can only ever pray, or just now prayers are being released out of me, so I'm breathing. It just happens, right? I don't even have to think about it. But that pain that I feel for the suffering of the world is really intense. And I'm going to go into my, full moon and think about how I deal with this suffering. It's really, sometimes I cry about it when I see other people suffer so much. And if I hurt anyone, even unintentionally, it really kind of affects me, because I don't want to hurt anybody. But the hurt and the suffering in the world is just so, like I don't feel the weight of it, but you feel the thoughts, I think, the energy photons that you say, Scott, like are out there. You see it, but it's not in you. You see it, and then you want to do something to help. But how do you handle that, Gino? How have you handled it, Scott? Because you've done long fasts.
Well, if Gina will allow me to be the asshole for once, I'd really appreciate it. But the first thing I realize is, like, I think the higher in energy you go, the more loving you're going to be. And the more loving you are, the more aware of the suffering that you're going to be of other people. Sometimes now I just look at people and I'm just like, holy shit, I don't know what's going on with you, but you're in a bad place. And I'm instantly attracted to them. Like, I want to start talking to them. I want to just make sure they're okay. But at least for me, the first thing that has helped me is everybody is capable of helping themselves. And the reality of it is, and I'm not saying this to be some kind of, white male elitist, but there is no way that I can do the energy work for anybody other than myself. There's just no way. Like, if you are talking about transmuting energy inside of my body, how weird would that be to say, hey, Gino, I know you're the master at this. Can you just hop inside of me and do whatever you're going to do? I mean, I would guarantee you, like, just based on the laws of the universe, if he was able to do that, there'd be severe negative consequences for me, and probably for him, because you're violating something that's very foundational, which is freedom of choice. So to me, you have to just recognize that because you're in a high energy state, your ability to tap into other people's energy fields is going to be much higher. And frankly, sometimes just because you're treating yourself so well, in your mind, logically, you're like, why in the heck don't you do anything different? Well, I could have asked if you would have gone back 20 years in my life, a whole bunch of people would have been saying, why don't you do something different, Scott? Because your life is so painful, right? I was watching a comedian last night, and he goes, I was bullied as a kid. And, bullying is such a huge issue right now, especially at school. And I was kind of refreshing to hear his response. He's like, no, don't feel sorry for me. Because I was bullied, I'm up here on the stage right now. And so that's the second thing that I had to realize is everybody's suffering to some extent is divine. And I'm not saying it makes it pleasant. I'm not saying that we don't help each other just because we all have our own responsibilities to kind of handle our own energy. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying at the end of the day, to protect your own sensitivity, you just have to realize those two things, and then it doesn't become quite as much of a hot mess. It's not our job to go out there and touch and change people. We can share their load, we can bear their burdens at times, but at the end of the day, it's going to be like a warm bath. If they don't want to get out of that state, the water's going to cool off. And, well, for us, obviously we've learned the effectiveness of cold water, right? Okay. But for most people, just being in a lukewarm bath isn't very comforting. But I don't know, those are just some of the things that have helped me.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Scott, because the thing is, I hear what you're saying intellectually. I fully understand it. I hear where you're coming from. People got to do their own work. I fully understand that. You can't do the work for the people. They've got to do it themselves. And there have to be an open channel for that. And the way you get open channel, you can fast is one mechanism. But it's a consciousness rather than more than an individual thing. So it's more of a it's like your body goes into compassion. So you become the embodiment of compassion. And I know you can't help everybody. I understand all that, and I can't put the burden all on me. But I do see the limitless place. So I do see the flow that happens, and it's a service thing where you have to flow out and working that out. But I do feel the consciousness of the suffering more so than the individual suffering. The individual has its own sovereignty and its own essence that it needs to work through. I can only ever be a possibility for what a person can do to change and be the change. So I get that. Thank you so much for confirming that. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, that was awesome about your little 8 explanation, Scott. That's very nice enlightenment. The one key that I find profound is the how do I put this? What we're looking for is to expand the space, the emptiness. That's where source is. And this is why we talk about obstructions, get them out of the way, in physical, mental, emotional, because we're building the space, and that's where you connect to the divinity, right? It's the space. That's where it is, the darkness, and it's I don't know how can you put this in words, but that's the key. That's one of the keys that I found very profound, to be able to get into that space, and that's where all the information is. It's in the emptiness. I wasn't clear, sorry, about the question you asked Ranjit before. You're muted.
Yeah. So no, I was just asking about the hurt that you feel from the planet, and it's because my body's in compassion. Like I feel compassion. I feel such a strong compassion that I see people's hurt, and I probably use MFS as my training ground to try and teach me how to how to deal with this. And I see it as clear as day, Gino, and people don't have to be in suffering if they don't want to. So I think it's you see two sides. You see when you, as you said, the empty space, you see the high, the joy, and the way you can live in this human experience, but there's this other side that's going on, and I'm not sure how to release, that hurt that I feel for the consciousness. That's what. Yeah.
It's much easier to eat, isn't it? Feel the physical pain than to deal with the reality and mirrors of truth. And that's what most of us will do, right? We'll go to food and numb ourselves out, and so we don't have to pay attention to anything else. We get into that poor me syndrome. I'm in pain, and then we forget about all what's going on because the veil has been put over us, and we don't see it with any clarity anymore. We're too comfortable in the misery, pain, and suffering, and that's where most people choose to be, as you can see out there, right? That's why drug companies make more profits every single year. It keeps going up and up and up, and more people are on pharmaceuticals than ever. So how do we deal with it? Well, we're doing it right now, guys. That's how we deal with it. We have a group, we have a support system, and we choose to be the change. That's all I can tell you. That I don't know any other way, guys. To do it all on your own out there, it's not that it's impossible, but in today's age, as we've spoke many times, we're bombarded by stimulants left, right, and center, and everything outside of doing nothing is a stimulant, pretty much. Computers, food, sex, alcohol, drugs, phones, etc., 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 all frequencies. So, for us being here, putting time away from our schedule every week to be together and commit to be that change, that's the only thing I see that's going to help us move forward into that realm of peace, balance, correct conduct, and help bring balance to the rest of this wonderful planet that we're on, instead of letting it go in the direction where it's been going in freaking chaos. When I look at stuff that's happening out there, I don't like the feeling I get in me, man. Like, seeing, my mother in pain. I don't like the feeling I get when I see that. I don't like the pain of the earth. Same thing. I don't like the pain and suffering in the animals. Same thing. So what do we do, guys? What do we do? Let's be the change. And if we're not going to completely turn 180 from what we've been doing our whole lives, we can start a process slowly, right? We can, choose to eat less, and right then and there, you're making a big difference. We can choose to eat cleaner, right then and there, you're going to make a difference, right? And the more you fast, and the more difference you're going to make, because the mirrors of truth will continue to unfold in front of you the more you fast, and the more you fast, and the more you fast. And as they come, you're not going to be able to deny them, because they're going to be very clear. And you can deny it all you want, but you're only going to be lying to yourself. It doesn't matter who else you lie to. It's at the end of the day, you're lying to yourself, because your soul is going to penetrate right through and show you the truth. And there's no running, and there's no hiding from that. You can numb yourself up, but one day it's going to come that you're going to have to face it. And maybe it's going to be when you leave this body, but the time is going to come where we're going to have to face it. So if we start helping each other and doing it now, I think we're going to be in a better place when we jump the fence, sort of say, from this realm out of this body that we've rented, and go into the limitless realms with a bit more clarity, because if we can't be in servitude to our fellow brothers and sisters, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? I don't know. Like, what's the purpose if we're not helping each other? The understanding of plasma is, in order for anything to happen, you must give first. No creation happens without the gift of giving, the art of subtraction. We're continuously giving, and we can receive in abundance hundreds fold as we're giving. And that's the way creation continuously creates and expands and moves on. Where's the beginning and where's the end? There isn't any. So let's just decide to be that change and make a difference, because it does make a difference. Whether you see it right away.
You know, Gino, along that actually, Ranch, I did have. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. You just kind of cut out there a little bit, Gino.
Yeah, it's okay.
Like, I don't know, for me, in and out.
Am I okay now? Hello?
No, yeah, you're okay now. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I can hear you. Yep.
Okay. Did you guys get most of it?
No, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So yeah, guys.
No, but you know, the other thing I was going to say, just to share really quick, Ranji, was just like, you know, emotional level is a little bit higher level than what we're typically at. And that's where the sorrow is coming from, right? There's a whole nother energy field above and below that that's not attached to anything physical. And I really feel like physicality is the ultimate test to see if we will learn to focus our eyes spiritually in a certain sense to see through it all. I mean, suffering is a choice. It's that simple. And when you go a little bit, when you dive a little bit deeper into the story, you get to those a little bit, those lower energy fields, or however you want to say it, the higher energy fields that are outside of emotion. What you can realize is you can change things just like that. It's almost like you're getting in some form of entanglement with bliss. I mean, that's really what you want to be entangled with, is joy, creation, bliss, compassion. Once you're entangled with these things, guess what? In a second, you're healed just like that. And like Gino says, really the physicality of it all is trivial, because, and I guess where I'm going with this is, I feel like this might be a test for you to see, are you willing to release the suffering of everybody to get to a higher place and a better place where you can help more people?
Yeah, as you've said, what's the saying goes, the pain is inevitable, suffering is optional, right? It's the state that we put ourselves in. Pain is a learning process, and it's kind of like a gateway to get to the better places. We go through the pains. You know, the emotional pains are things that we're not taught to learn how to handle them, and that's the challenge, right? We were taught growing up to suppress everything, right? Crying, men don't cry, and all this stuff, and so on and so forth. But in general, like, you don't talk about your emotions. It wasn't a thing to do. And here we are. That's all we're talking about these days, because we have to let it out, or we're gonna just self-destruct. It's look what's out there, man. You know, people that have gone through Master Fast, the stuff that people have revealed that they were holding on from childhood, that they finally let go. This is what it's all about. That's why people are sick. That's why we're sick. We're holding on to all that caca, physical, mental, emotional. We're tons of it. And through our ancestral lineage, we're holding on to all kinds. So let's let it go. Let's purge it. And it's continual. You know, the more that we let go, the more is going to come up. And we keep going. We keep going. We keep going. Let's purge and purge and purge. And it's an ongoing thing. How long does it go? I have no idea. We have, I don't think there's an end, but we keep it going. We keep purging, and as we continue to purge, we build our field strength. That's all I understand. It gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and then the more that comes on, we're able to handle it with more ease than the previous time, because we've let go of so much, so we've become a master at it, sort of say. And we continue, right? And it's it's a blessing to go through these painful cycles. They're not fun when we're going through them, but when we come out of them, it's like a relief and into that euphoric, blissful state, which the nectar of God starts coming into play, and then you go, my goodness gracious, where have I been? Why haven't I can be in this place all the time? And then you go back out in the world and all the mundane stuff and so on and so forth, and people are trying to bring you down into their levels, and you're going, I feel so freaking good. Is it possible to be in this state and these guys are in that state? And it's a tough challenge, right? To be living in this, the rest of the societies and so on and so forth. And that's why sometimes we drag ourselves back down to try and probably to get a sense of where people are at, to try to re-feel that again. And then, okay, I'm done with that. Let me go back into the blissful, euphoric state. And we continue. I just love it that everybody keeps sharing their journeys and their states, because it's just a reflection of ourselves. And when somebody's in a euphoric state, like Ranjit's been blowing my mind in these last few months, just energizing us all, and it's just awesome, right? It's just beautiful. It's just that wonderful plasma love always flowing that we're tapping in, and she's just putting it out there, and it's so strong, that field, that you cannot but taste it. It's there. It's just and you can deny it all you want, but it's there.
When I do that, Gino, not I, the soul does it. I don't do it. I get rewarded.
Of course.
Yeah, it comes back, that infinity loop, Scott. It just powers you up. Like, I'm sure I can be like Tesla. I can be electricity light bulb. Like, can power. That's how you feel. You feel that. You feel the power. You feel the empowerment. You feel the. Oh, it's just so amazing. Like when you taste that nectar of God, Gino, you know the one.
Sometimes.
You know the one. Like, why do you want to eat?
Sometimes I just have these thoughts like, man, oh man, just some little old grape juice. Look what it's done. We thought this was about grape juice. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, we're talking about we're getting into the soul.
Juice. I love it.
We're getting into the soul of the grape juice. That's a whole nother ball game where most people just goes, cooked juice, it's poison, it's dead. And once you start tapping into these energetic fields, my goodness gracious, you just wow, man, it has nothing to do with food. Just bring it on, keep those revelations coming through.
There's so many other people here, like Angela.
Sorry?
Yeah, there's heaps. Like, this beautiful lady Angela. There's a beautiful lady Angela here. How are you, sweetheart? Hey, we talk crazy talk, don't we? I hope you're enjoying it. Sue, I'm going to get you. You didn't talk last week. How are you?
Hi.
How are you? Good.
Well, after this new moon fast, I released, and I'm still releasing. In fact, beginning of this, when this first started, I thought, oh my gosh, I got to do another enema. And it's just, anger and all kinds of emotion. But also in contrast, good, love. But boy, the moods are just, and run to do another enema and get it out. And I'm supposedly eating, but I'm having a hard time eating. I'm eating maybe every 2 days, and it's watermelon yesterday I took the turn. It was like I felt like I had to, not because I wanted to, just, and it's taken me all day to kind of get back. And yeah, I didn't want to go too fast, and I thought I was going to be eating, but maybe I'm not going to be. Did you lose me? Oh,
Yeah.
no, okay. But anyway, yeah, I keep hearing Gino say in my mind, you know, when something happens and my emotions are going wild, jump for joy. You know, this is just so amazing. And then my mood changes, even though it's kind of unpleasant. but at the same time, there's that joy, that wow.
Of course, because you face the mirror truth and you've embraced it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It is. It's just. It is so beautiful. And I was listening to you guys earlier in the conversation, Rana, talking about eating just socially, and that's where my mind has been. I just do not want to put stuff in my body. I mean, here's this beautiful watermelon, and it just took me down. It was so bizarre, you know. But I'm trying to listen and not go too fast either, or maybe jump right back into a full MFS. I don't know. Seems like that's where.
You know, just if you're emotionally ready, you can jump right in, but don't kick yourself for eating or anything, and embrace the journeys in that sense and enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's for me, I go along, and then I just, okay, it's time, bang, jump in. I don't really think about it, you know, anymore, because I've done it so many times.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Instead of a plan, because I was thinking I'd do it again in January, you know, after the holidays and after the harvest, and but I am just struggling to eat.
Yeah.
Of course, then I got to go visit family, and then there's that, you know, aspect, and that scares me. I don't want to be with my octogenarian parents and say, well, I'm not eating today.
Well, then you know what? Don't face that in that sense. Just have something to eat. Who cares? Don't worry.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm planning to do. I'm going to on Monday, and I just thought I'm not going to eat today or tomorrow, and then Monday when I go see him, I'll eat. I really don't like that feeling of putting it in my body though, because I know it's gonna. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't.
It'll be fine. You know, just, you know, it draws us down a bit. You know, we're gonna have to work it through, but no big deal. No big deal.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's that this conversation at the beginning. Oh my gosh, I was just like, oh, this is so good. This is exactly what I needed to hear. It's perfect, because just what I've been going through in my mind is just, you know, doing the monkey mind nonsense. And
Yeah, it's like when I look back, and you know, when MFS started and everybody started jumping in and so on and so forth. What I see that the way it happened is people took it as some kind of fad. You know,
yeah,
it
for
just
sure.
blew people over their minds and everything of what transpired from people doing it. People weren't emotionally ready for it. They just weren't, and a lot of you can agree of the way it's gone through that have been with us for a while. It was like a fad for people, and we've completely shaken the whole detox word inside and upside down like no other. It's like I've been doing this for 3 decades, and there's nothing that ever I've experienced ever even come close to what we're doing, what we're experiencing in this realm. And as we say, everything's possible in this realm because we've seen pretty much everything, and it is possible. The only thing that's not possible is the impossible in this realm. That's it, because that's it's just a bunch of nonsense what's going on with our belief systems and everything else that we've been programmed and so on and so forth. So we remove all barriers and just allow, and watch the transformations happen, because they do, over and over and over again, for the people who choose this kind of lifestyle. You know, the ones who dabble in it as an event, they're still going to experience tremendous transformations, and some of them will jump out and come back and so on and so forth, like some of us have done. But it's okay. It's just like I said, this is a new training ground to handle all this emotional stuff. It's a new training ground. I've seen, you know, courses and things about emotions and stuff, but they're not letting go of their caca in the physical, and it's not working. It's not working. You know, you're going to get up to a point, and just like diets are going to get you up to a point, and herbs are going to get you up to a point, we need to release through the physical caca and access the other levels of the caca, and then everything changes. And this is why we're seeing so much emotions coming through with people like never before, you know. And you're going to get the critics and so on and so forth who know little to nothing about what we're doing. No, you're deficient in this, that, and the other thing. And yeah, bull crap. You know, bull crap, because we know once you're into that rhythm, the energy gets higher and higher, up to a point, and you get some healing reactions. But my goodness gracious, you can see it for what it is. The energy is not coming from food. It's very clear. It's very clear. It's not coming from food, right? But enjoy yourself when you're eating with your family. Share that love, spread it, and enjoy yourself. Yes. Don't go crazy, but enjoy. You know, you can do it. And then there could be times where in the future, as you've gone through more experiences, that you'll be able to be in that fasting state and go into those places and have confidence, and not be in the state, well, you know, I got to go see my parents and they're going to be eating. And you'll be able to do it through a fasting state. I've done it many times, you know, and sometimes you're going to still choose to eat, and that's okay too, right? So enjoy it all. Enjoy it all. But the more we stay connected like this, is what I'm seeing is we empower each other more and more and more and more. And that's why we keep the page going, because it's just an inspiration to read people's story. It doesn't matter that people perceive it as, you know, good, bad, ugly. It doesn't matter, because it's all beautiful. It's all part of the journey. It's all beautiful. That's from the beginning. I used to always say, let's share the good, the bad, the ugly. But then as time went on, the revelation came. It's all beautiful. It's all beautiful. Because we're going to all go through it, pretty much. I haven't seen, you know, people that are actually doing it not go through it. Everybody's going to have a taste of these purges in the mirrors of truth. So
can I just say one thing? Susan? Do you go by Susan, or is it Sue?
Susan, but Renji can call me whatever she wants.
You know, one thing I was gonna say, like, and you may already know this, but you know, my parents actually had a really hard time with me going through my 132-day fast. They gave me a lot of grief for it, you know. But I don't know, as you're talking about this, is just a feeling I had, so I felt prompted to share it, so I'm just gonna share it. I really feel like if you go to your parents' house tomorrow night, you eat that meal with them in a spirit of love and enjoyment, and you show them that you're honoring their wishes and reflecting love back onto them. You know, I think, you know, if I don't know if you're a parent yourself, but as a parent, that's one of the things that's one of the most important links to your kids, is that love connection. And when you connect on that connection with your parents in that loving way, I just really felt like eventually that's going to melt their hearts, and they're just going to be like, hey, Susan, you know what? I see this has a positive impact on your life. And when they get to that point, you're going to be happy that you showed them respect as well, right? You're going to see that's what happens is you're showing them love, even though they're kind of resisting where you want to go, but that resistance is melted by that same process.
Yes.
So I don't know. I don't know if that will eventually come to pass. I hope it does for you, especially because I know how much you love to do Master Fast. So
I do.
but that's what I would just suggest to you is just show honor and love to your folks, show honor and love for their ways, and then eventually they'll be like, hey, you know, Susan's not crazy. She's our daughter. I mean, if she wants to do this, I mean, heck, there must be something to
Well,
it.
sometimes what I do too is, you know, they'll talk about how skinny I am, and I said, I'm climbing mountains. I go 100 miles an hour all day long now. I cannot believe how much energy I have.
Yeah.
I mean, not every second, and there are times that I have, you know, my tired, but miles and miles I walk and hike. I don't know. I mean, I bring that up to them. And you know, 2 years ago, I was not doing well. So
Excellent.
I feel great is what I like to tell them.
Because it's the truth, right? The body is in the slow motion realm. The spirit, you know where you're at. Yeah. So just don't worry about the body. It'll come around. It takes time. It takes time. We put it through a lot of punishment through decades, and it's going to take time. I
can't believe it. Yeah.
And how long? Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yeah, we're going to get criticized and this, that, and the other thing, but they have no clue how freaking amazing we're feeling, right?
Oh, that's right. I think they can. I think to some degree they can feel it with, you know,
yeah,
they
their
can
soul
feel.
Their soul.
Yes. They can feel that, and then they don't understand how I do it without eating, but they have to be able to see the glow.
It's not in their physical program to come to that understanding because they haven't gone through the experiences.
Right.
But their soul knows, and that's why people start criticizing you in that, because there's kind of like they feel like an attack to their physicality because the soul's knocking on their door. What are you doing, man? Start doing something about you. And they're not ready to make those changes. They're right. And that's the way I see it. And every once in a while, somebody will surprise you and start asking questions, and they may start making changes in their life. Yeah. It's been happening to me in the last 3 decades. Most people will never do anything. That's 99% will never make it a lifestyle. 90% will never do it. And then you have those in that 10% range that will make some changes, is what I've seen. They'll make some changes for improvements. And then as years go by, you'll surprise you. They'll make more and more change. And then one day somebody might ask you about fasting in 3, 4, or 5 years and freak you out. So it does happen. You will bring influence to others because your field strength is at that state. And it's going to do that because that's what it does, right? When you're in that divine space of spewing out plasma love always flowing, it's getting absorbed by the lower field strength because they're feeding off it, right? And that's what we do. So it's a beautiful place to be, and we continue as much as we can. We're almost at 2 hours. I'm gonna be bringing it to a close because we got family and stuff. So if anybody else wants some last minute stuff, it's been a real blast. We had our first no-show, Oliver. Hopefully he's okay. I'm blessed and thank. Something came up. As anything can happen. But we hope he's okay. And it's awesome. So anybody else want to throw in some last minute stuff while we wrap it up?
I just want to say hi. I'm Angelica, and I'm new to MFS.
Awesome.
a little bit, and just been watching things from the background, and definitely new to Zoom. I wasn't aware of how to unmute myself until just but I'm so grateful and so excited to be part of this group, and just listening to the wisdom that everyone brings is just so amazing. And I had a spiritual experience back in 2008, and since then my life has changed. Something happened where I started, for lack of words, separating from that spiritual experience, and since then I've been searching for that connection again, and one thing has led to another, and I'm here, and I'm just so excited because my entire life I've had health issues, and I've been someone who, it's so funny because to live, and I dreaded eating, and I always said to myself, why do we have to eat? And I would feel hungry, and it was more of a negative reaction. It's like, oh, I'm hungry. I need to eat, or I need to eat, right? And so when I found this group, and I started getting the message, it wasn't really about eating. It just piqued my interest. I'm like, oh wait, this is something I like. But now that I've learned so much more, and it has that spiritual connection, that's another thing that connects me to MFS, is because that's the journey that I've been recently. So not just recently, but for years now. And so I'm so grateful and thankful. And Ranjit, oh my gosh, you are such an inspiration. You're just so amazing. I love you, and I love everyone here. You guys are, you're my tribe. I'm just so happy to be here. So just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Awesome, Angelica. Hopefully one day you share your experience with the spiritual awakening and so on and so forth.
Yes, and I'm a few days away from ordering my herbal tinctures. Awesome. And starting my MFS. So I'll be sharing for sure. Thank you.
So yeah, this Zoom platform is a very wonderful structure. It works beautiful. We've never had any real issues with it, and it's a great place for be. We're all parts of the world, and we're all connected, and it's beautiful. So we thank Zoom, and we thank the internet, and we thank Google, and we thank Facebook, and we thank all these things. They're wonderful tools, Without them, we wouldn't be able to do this.
Hey, Gino, happy birthday to you, brother, for tomorrow.
Happy birthday, Gino.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you.
Birthday, man. Seriously.
Now go get in your suit, Gino.
Much.
Yeah.
Get off Zoom and get in that suit.
Another year, man. Unbelievable. It's gone. Unreal. Okay, guys. Thank you, family.
Best year ever, Gino. This is going to be your best year ever. I feel it. Yeah.
Every year is becoming.
Good night, everybody. Love you.
Better. Love you, all you guys.
Bye,
Here, Angie. Love you guys. Love you, Scotty. Love you, everybody.
Love you all. Bye.
Oh, bye, Susan. I want to hug you all. Hug.
Let's keep that plasma love always flowing. Ciao, ciao.